These open calls, they sound like a really huge opportunity for models. They're actually a joke for agents. We all actually laugh at them because, generally speaking, all the people that show up for them are not right to be models. They're actually, it can be like a disaster.
Hey guys, for those of you who are new here, welcome. My name is Matty and I'm a male model, physiotherapist and fitness enthusiast. And in this video, I have a very special guest. We've got Greg Chan from askamodelagent. Why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, cool. My name is Greg Chan. I've been an agent for 28 years in New York City. I've been director, senior agent, and global scout for the best agencies in New York: IMG Models, Wilhelmina Models, DNA Models, Next Management, Soul Artist Management. I've managed men, women, and celebrity, and it's just been the dream job of a lifetime, being an agent and helping models find their power and help them achieve the biggest goals they can. I also have a company called Ask a Model Agent, and it was basically during the pandemic I realized that so many models don't have guidance and people don't have access to someone like me. And so what I did was I created a model mentor project, a place, a resource where models could come and ask me questions and ask for guidance and ask and get knowledge on how to navigate through their modeling business. So I created that as well, and in addition, I have on top of that, I have a website called the Mother Agents, and the Mother Agents is a directory of the best mother agents, model managers, and scouts all over the world. And I created this because I wanted to help young talent find legitimate and proven management easier. So I realized that I know all the best managers and scouts in the world, so I thought that why not pull them all together and unify them in a place where talent can find them much easier. And then the last thing I do this year, I've started a nonprofit. It's called the Supermodel Project, and what we're doing is we are raising funds to be able to help support models' mental health. We're going to bring in free skill set development for models. We're teaching kids and models how to give back. We have programs that are everywhere from model beach cleanups, tree plantings, and on the weekends we're starting to feed people in need. So it's just been a great program for us to be able to help models understand what other value they have, aside from modeling, what they can do to contribute and fulfill their lives. To be a model, you have to be able to stand apart from the pack. You have to be able to make yourself known. It's not good enough to be able to sit in the corner and just be quiet and be beautiful.
In your experience, what are height requirements?
Yeah, I mean, for me, New York City, it's very clear. It's 6'1" to 6'3". It's really a very small window. It's really 6'1" to 6'2.5". You will see a lot of guys at 6'3", but it will make a difference, because remember, it goes back down to fitting the clothes. All right, so if you have extra long arms, that's going to be harder for you to fit the jacket. But really, these days, 6 foot is just not tall enough. So it really becomes down to a very small window of 6'1.5" to 6'2". That's really the sweet spot. So it's about 186 to 188 centimeters. And you have to also realize that, say for example with these shows, of course we want to be able to break the barrier and show all different types of sizes and heights and everything, but you have to think, if there's a 6 foot guy in there and you look at the lineup and everyone else is 6'2", this guy's going to stand out, and they can't have that. There's so much money behind that fashion show for that designer to sell those clothes. They can't have something as small as that jeopardize or compromise, their selling ability. So in many cases, it has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with the grouping of how everyone looks together.
Apart from height, what other kind of features are modeling agencies looking for?
Yeah, let's talk about that. Really, one thing that jumps out at me: wide set eyes. Wide set eyes are definitely something that's important. Full lips. Full lips are important. What else? You know what fashion loves? That fashion loves a Roman nose. A Roman nose is sort of like that long, kind of flat, straight down nose. So it's something that I've seen over and over again. It's something that people love. What else? As far as physical features, a lean frame. Even if you're built, even if you're fit, you should be lean and mean. You should never be big and bulky. So really the money guys, the campaign guys will definitely be a little more lean and mean, whereas the fashion guys, they'll be lean and lanky, but really a lean frame is really preferable. If you're a handsome guy, you've got to have a six-pack. I don't care. It's like if you're a handsome guy, that's what you need to have because it's too competitive out there. You walk into the room, there's 10 other guys that have six-packs and you don't. Think about how you compete. Think about how you're going to compete with that. So I think a six-pack is really important if you are a classically handsome guy. If you're an edgy show guy, you don't need it. You don't want it. Fashion doesn't like muscles. There's two really different types of guys. A nice jawline, good jawline. Nothing really too soft here when you're looking to the profile. And cheekbones. Cheekbones are always great. Because they photograph really well. They create depth to that photograph. So I would say that those are like really important features of a model, of a male model. Yeah, and fashion's all about finding where you fit the best. It's like where your strength is going to be, where you are going to fit the best in fashion, where you fit as far as whether it's shows, whether it's campaigns, clothes, designers, e-com, whatever. And once you find that sweet spot, that's the place where you need to be.
There are two ways to get into modeling. The two main ways that I know of is being scouted, which is what happened to me via Instagram last year. And the second way is obviously applying. Obviously, not everyone can get scouted because it's luck, like it's also right place, right time. But in terms of applying, how would someone go about that, and what would you kind of recommend?
Yeah, I have a lot to say on that because it's funny because pretty much 99% of the agencies will say the same thing, which is just send 4 digitals. That's all we want to see, and I get that. But honestly, that's not really the way that every person should apply to the agency. And let's talk about this first. Is that yes, you want to send your 4 to 6 digitals to the agency. That's what they want. The biggest mistake models make, and so many make this, is that what they do is they're submitting their pictures blindly without assessing themselves first. Most of them are not ready. They're not ready to be submitted. They haven't actually assessed themselves to look at what they need to make adjustments on before they submit. So when they submit, they're not right for what the agency is looking for. So that's the number one thing. It's so it's something that no one talks about. Is so many people submit before they're ready. One of the things I do at Ask a Model Agent is that I want to help people understand where they fit into fashion before they submit. Because if they don't know, they're going to be submitting. If some kid wakes up and says, "Oh, I want to be a model," the first thing they're going to do is send their pictures to IMG, Elite, these agencies that everyone knows. But the thing is, if they're not right for those agencies, they're going to hit a wall and they're never going to get accepted, and they're not going to know why. And so the thing is, it's important to understand where you fit in fashion first, and that's what I try and do at Ask a Model Agent. Is I really try and help models understand that first, so then they can kind of like not only know where to submit, but then also I can help them make the adjustments they need to do before they do submit, so they're what the agency is looking for. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing, as far as submitting to agencies, is there's a certain kind of tradition of sending the 4 to 6 digitals, but honestly, in my opinion, that works best for the kid who is like 18 years to 24 years, fashion agencies, this and that. If you are a commercial print model, I think you do it differently. If you are a 45-year-old man, I think you do it differently. If you are an athletic, model, I think you do it differently. Again, these agencies kind of try and make it easy for them, so they just say, send this all. But honestly, if I'm outside that box of 18 to 24 fashion kids, I think it actually hurts you to do it their way. I think you need to think about it a different way. That's just my opinion.
I remember talking to my friend who is a model. He said, Matt, if you go to a walk-in, you guarantee that you get seen. But if you apply online, there's a chance that your application might not get seen. When someone goes to a walk-in, do you have any tips for how to present yourself the best?
Yeah, absolutely. And because these days we call them open calls here in New York City, and they don't not many people have them anymore and everything. But if you have an opportunity to go in, yeah, you should go in. But here's the biggest mistake people make. Once again, people go expecting that they're just born beautiful, and they're like, oh, people are going to scramble all over me and sign me like that. But most people don't go ready. All right. Now here's a little secret sauce that a lot of models don't know is, and I can't believe I'm going to say it, but I just say it. It's like these open calls. They sound like a really huge opportunity for models. They're actually a joke for agents. We all actually laugh at them because, generally speaking, all the people that show up for them are not right to be models. They're actually it can be like a disaster. Everything. So it's almost like who drew the shortest straw to have to go and talk to the walk-in people. Everything. But because of that, because most people that have no idea, they've done no research on the agency themselves, don't have no idea how they should be dressed or look for the open call. If you have potential, if you are a good model and you go in dressed properly, no makeup, all these things, really looking good and being prepared, you will get attention. You will get attention. But I'm also saying this, I want to make sure kids understand this because, to be honest, in my whole career, of my 20 plus years of career, I think maybe certainly not more than 10 models that walked in have ever got signed for me in 28 years. So that just goes to show the quality that's walking into the walk-in. So if you do have potential and you are really a great candidate, go into the walk-in because you will stand out. But be ready.
I actually went to a walk-in again before I signed with Wilhelmina, and when I went there, I believe that they did have the open calls at the walk-ins, and when I got there, they had a sign on the door saying, "We do not accept walk-ins." So there I was, like I travelled an hour and a half to get there, and I was like, oh gosh, well I could just go home, but something made me kind of stay outside the door. And I was about to knock like 3 times. You have that little flinch where you're like, I'm about to knock. And then as I was about to knock on the 3rd time, I didn't know who she was at the time, but the head of the men's division came out. And then I just explained, my friend told me that there were open calls, and she was like, there aren't, but since you've come all this way, come on in. She took my details down first, and then she took my measurements, and then did some little digitals, Polaroids. And about 2 weeks later, I had a phone call saying that I didn't actually get an offer for representation. I suppose that was a complete fluke. Like, I shouldn't have even been there because there were no walk-ins. But I think that was my experience. That's probably been my most unexpected, best experience with the walk-in, because a few of the others, they said they would get back to me and they didn't. So there was a lot of rejection, I think. Before I got scouted, I was kind of looking into a few different agencies. So do you have any tips for beginner models who are, going into the industry trying to get signed and they're just getting rejected left, right, and center?
Yeah, well, first of all, let's go back to back to the open call in your situation, your particular experience. I'll tell you why they accepted you. It was not a fluke. They accepted you because you were quality. All right. So this is what agencies respond to. Agencies and clients respond to quality. If you looked like Quasimodo, they would have said, "Sorry, we don't do walk-ins." They would have stood their ground. But because they saw something, they invited you in. So at the end of the day, is what I'm trying to say is that quality speaks. So that's why you need to take your time to make sure you have great digitals. Make sure you work on your book in the right way. You have to be in shape. Quality speaks volumes. If you don't show quality, you're not going to get the response. And so that's the thing. It's sort of like, and again, I don't mean to make anyone feel bad, but I really want to try and put as much no bullshit truth out there. Is that if you're not getting the response to these open calls and everything, then there's probably a good sign that either you're not right or you're not ready, and you need to be able to take that and say, okay, cool. This may be like a brutal truth that I need to make an adjustment on. Tips for young models getting into the business. Yeah, I think that the first thing is that don't take it personally. That's the first one. It's a good segue to what I just said. Don't take it personally because it has nothing to do with you. This is a business, and people are looking for specific things that fit their needs. And so if you aren't right for them, it doesn't mean that you're not beautiful. It doesn't mean you're not an extraordinary person. All right? And there's a lot that you have to give. So you can't take it personally, because when a person gets rejected, whether it's for an agency or a job, especially for jobs, you have no idea that there's so many other reasons why you got rejected that have nothing to do with you. All right, so that's the first thing. Don't take it personally. All right, second thing is know your unique value. I think that it's like so many of us we're conditioned as a young age to try and fit in everything, but this business is different, and it's like there's no one like you. There's your original self, so value that. And I think it's really hard because I'm guilty of it, being a kid too that was just a small Asian kid trying to fit in and everything. I tried to do what everyone else did, but in this business you have value, so use it rather than just trying to be one of the sheep. All right. Um, I also want you to think about competing. How will you compete? How will you truly compete? That's something I do a lot of work with at Ask a Model Agent with my model clients. Many clients that are signed all over the world, I talk to them about this. How will you compete? There's so many models that haven't given guidance, and they don't know. How are they supposed to know? They're just a kid. They're just an 18-year-old kid, 20-year-old kid, and so no one's talked to them about how to truly compete. And there's so many ways you can, but most kids, they don't know, so all they do is sit there and be beautiful, and they don't understand what little tricks and tips they can do to maximize their chance of success, to have a better relationship with their agent, to make that moment in front of the client that may be less than 2 minutes, leave an impression. All right? These are all really important things that not enough talent are asking themselves: how to compete. Ask for help. Hey, how can I be better? How can I be a better model? How can I make us both money? It's like being curious, asking for help to think about how to find solutions. Most models don't ever think about asking for help because, again, they're not conditioned to. That's when I decided to create Ask a Model Agent, was because, you know what, I'm top of the food chain, and I realize that I have so much to give, and I've never been accessible for. People can't access people like me at my level, which is why it made me think during the pandemic, let's change that. Let's change that culture. If people are ambitious enough to seek knowledge, why shouldn't I share it with them? Why can't I help them be better? So it's like, I want to change that culture of not knowing how to ask for help. Ask for help. Ask me, and I will help you. I'll make you be better. Get to know your agent. All right, get to know your agent. Connect with them. Align with them. Most models I talk to have a fear-based relationship with their agent, which is they're kind of intimidated by them, and that's not healthy. Many agents, they like to be able to be powerful, to have the control, this and that. But if you can align with your agent and be on the same page and know who your agent is, know who your person is. It's sort of like having a pet, like a cat or a dog. They want to know who their person. They want to know you're their person. Everything. Know who your person is. Connect with them, align with them, to make sure that you guys are on the same page. Because it's really hard to be a model at an agency when you're not sure who your person is. You're not sure who to ask those questions to when you need it. It's scary. It's really scary. It's very lonely. And then the last thing I can think of is to remember the business is based on inspiration. All right? We forget that. We think it's just a job. Okay, you need to go to this casting now and get the job for me. You need to go on the set now and do the job and make £5,000 and get another job for me. Get them to book you again. All these things. But we forget. We think we're conditioned to just do what we're told. We forget this is a business of artists. Great, extraordinary artists. And everything we do is based on inspiration. It's extraordinary. Nothing like it. So remember that you have the ability. Okay, you were born good looking, but you have the ability to inspire, and your looks aren't good enough to that. Maybe it comes from the way you connect with them. Maybe the way you make them laugh. Maybe it's the way you turn it on when the camera's in front of you. I don't know what it is. Maybe there's so many different ways. But think about how you are connecting and engaging and inspiring the people in front of you, and that is really all powerful.
Great. Those are some great tips there. I'm going to have to watch this over again and take notes from it. You kind of touched upon the next question that I wanted to ask, and that was, do you have any specific tips for castings? Because obviously castings are going to be quite tricky and quite intimidating as well. So any tips on how to, obviously you've talked about don't take rejection personally, but is there anything that models can do to increase their chances or to make a better impression?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, first of all, again, you have to remember it is based on inspiration. So if you're in a casting room and you're in a line of 100 people or even 50 people, you have to start thinking, how am I going to be remembered? All right, how am I going to be remembered and everything? What am I going to do with that moment then when I get up there? Because you might have under a minute or under 2 minutes. So it's sort of like, and I think what happens with models is because we're conditioned as young kids just to be good sons or daughters and do what people say, we tend to answer questions like an interview. What's your name? Greg. How old are you? 20. Where are you from? California. What do you like to do? Hang out with my friends and listen to music. Okay, next. All right? And so I think that we just kind of like fall into this sort of same thing about doing what we're told. But I don't know what you think, but were you inspired by me at that moment? Because I certainly wasn't. And so it's like, I want you to kind of rethink, yes, they may ask those questions, mostly because maybe they don't even know what to say and everything, but you have to take that moment and turn it into something else, something else. So maybe it's just coming up with like a one to two sentence thing that you sneak in there instead of answering their questions that comes out in a unique and interesting way about you. Something that's interesting about you that you can leave with them. So afterwards, they're remembering, oh yeah, they work at that's the kid that was scouted at Chipotle, or that's the kid that got kicked out of school, because he was in a heavy metal band or something like that, or whatever. Thinking about little ways to make the most of those 2 minutes, everything, and make sure you have that presence, everything. Make sure it looks like you're excited to be there. Make sure you have energy. All right. The last thing that a casting director wants to do in a room full of 100 other models is talk to a kid who's beautiful and has nothing to say, all right? Or no presence. In presence, that maybe you're shy, and that's okay. Maybe you speak your presence in different ways. Maybe it's the way you dress.
What should a model wear to a casting?
So many agents will go to the standard old go-to that's been done for like 30 years, 40 years, which is like black on black and everything, and I'm just not that guy. I'm sorry, I'm just not that guy. I think it's just, it's boring. It's the same thing, everything. I mean, yes, it makes girls, I think it's smart for certain people like girls because it makes you look leaner and thinner, but I've always been more a proponent of finding your personal style and everything, and finding something that you can express yourself in a certain way. And maybe it is black on black, but there's maybe you're wearing pins that mean something to you, like something that's back from home, or there's something that makes you a little bit more individual, something that's a little bit more memorable and everything. And again, you should always avoid stuff that are too baggy or extra, or even just extra too tight. You should always avoid things that are like really distracting patterns that are going to just distort your body. A lot of like graphics and stuff like that are going to like be distracting. So you want to keep it pretty basic, but at the same time, you can still sort of find a way to have your own individualized style. I think that can really make a difference. Everything. Some kids, they were just born with it. They're born with this style, the street style, and they go to town and they make a big impression. I will also warn you that if you don't have that God-given ability to have a natural style, don't go for risks, because if you look like a clown, that's going to fall on you're going to fall on your face and everything. So again, if you're not sure about your style, keep it pretty basic and everything, but find little ways, whether it's the bag, whether it's the jacket, whether it's whatever, to kind of like, express yourself and tell a little story. Maybe it's like, maybe it's something that triggers a question, because remember, these OCs are less than a minute sometimes. Maybe it's something like, I don't know, you have like, there's this one girl that I represented. She had all these frog keychains on her bag and everything, and so people would ask her, "What's up with the frogs?" She'd go, "It's my favorite animal," and she would talk. She would have this little thing. She talks about the frogs and everything, and where she comes from and everything. And that was just, that little thing was a conversation starter for that casting director to ask the next question. So again, it's like, if you're not sure, go with the basics, everything, but then make sure you have that presence that helps you sort of like elevate everything. So don't be afraid of the basics, but also don't be afraid to add something that's personal to you.
I had a casting, 1 or 2 castings last year, that when you go in, they don't ask your name or anything like that. They just kind of, you just go and you do a little walk and then that's it. Where would your opening be in that situation to try and be more unique? Could you say, are you allowed to say something there?
So if they haven't asked you any
Yeah,
questions, well, I mean, so basically you walk in and they haven't asked you any questions and they're just staring at you?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay, well, yeah, that's super awkward. So, I mean, you kind of have to read the room. You have to read the room because it's like if you're going back to one of these like Valentino callbacks and it's like the whole panel of all the biggest people in the world, like Pierre Palo's there and Joe McKenna's there and Patrizia Pilati, all these big wigs and everything. You don't want to be just yammering and everything. So you got to read the room and everything. If it's serious and everything. But also things are different, like according to the market too. Americans love that personality, they love that presence. Whereas Paris, sometimes they just want you to look good and shut up. So you kind of have to be able to like understand the differences and read the room. So yeah, I think that there's no real right answer to that.
So in terms of like, what are some reasons why a model would get rejected on a casting for a job?
For a job, yeah. I think a big one would be you're not right. It's like one. Well, actually, there's two ways you can look at it. One, if you're a blonde, maybe the other three blondes up for it are way better than you. Second of all, maybe remember the grouping, the pairing. Okay, this is a group shot and everything, and maybe there's already someone that's kind of taken your spot. Maybe the other person that gets booked looks better with this grouping of models. So there's so many reasons, and again, there are politics. There could be a model that's perfect for it. The client loves them, but it's that stylist that over that supersedes everyone and says, nope, I'm using this girl. So that's the reason. So it could be anywhere. There's so many reasons why a model could get rejected for that, but usually it depends on. And then also let's think about this: who's going to make the most sales? Because remember, it's all about money. This is all about money. So again, there's a reason why Gigi Hadid and Bella Hadid and these girls are in every campaign. Is because they have so many followers that how can you not get this kind of exposure with a person that has that big of a following? It's just sales. If you take all the followers that Gigi Hadid has, and you take a small portion of them, and they each buy a shirt, that's business leverage, and companies are looking for business. So again, we have to really understand, like, that's why every client, certainly in America, I don't know about London, every client is asking what your social media is, because they want to see not only if you're good looking enough for their brand and you're a good enough model for that brand, but how many of your followers are going to buy that shirt from them?
Yeah, that's something that I didn't quite realize when I was just getting into the fashion industry. Some agencies that I met with placed a little bit more emphasis on the social media stuff. I did have a chat with my agent, and she said that it wasn't the most important thing. It's something that you can grow, but you're a model and you can focus on being a model, which was quite refreshing. But at the same time, just as you said, I know how important a social media following is, because the people who are booking all the big jobs at the moment generally tend to be the ones with more followers on Instagram and TikTok and things like that.
Don't feel pressure, because it's so easy to look at some of these big influencers that have like 6 million followers or 500,000 followers. Don't stress yourself out, because you're not going to catch up to those people. But what you can do, and these are things that I teach at Ask a Model Agent, is how to do your social media in an authentic way. And you don't necessarily need to have, like, yes, L'Oreal is looking to see if you have 100,000 followers that might buy that product. Of course, that's business. But the thing is, if you are able to curate the right content that's authentic in your social media, that also has so much value. So much value, because they think about, who do we want to represent us? What kind of person? How do they express themselves? Who is this model outside of their pictures of them looking gorgeous? And that all matters too. All matters too. So it's really the most important thing is putting in the right content. 96, 97% of models, all they do is post their modeling work, and they think that's okay. They just post their portfolio work, but that's what the portfolio is for. But the Instagram, the social media, is an opportunity for you to show who you are aside from those beautiful modeling pictures. And almost no one does it right. And so again, that's something that that I teach and everything. I talk to you so you learn a whole new way to look at social media, and I can teach you how to do it in a way where you enjoy it rather than being a pain in the ass.
What is your opinion on models who have famous parents? There's been a lot of people on TikTok complaining about, a lot of self-made models complaining about people with famous parents. And what's your opinion on it?
I mean, personally, I'm just not interested. What interests me are exciting people, interesting people. So it's sort of like, if you've got a famous parent, that's great and everything. And listen, I'm a smart businessman, so I understand that if it's the right parent, then that could lead to easy money for me. All right, I'm a smart enough businessman to know that. But the thing is, like, if you're going to get me really invested in you, you've got to be interesting. And so, man, it's like, I don't really care so much who your parents are, but I want you to be exciting to me. I want you to be exciting because as an agent, I love my product. I want to sell my product, but only if I love it. I can't sell something that's uninspiring. I'm not worried so much about the Nepo baby thing as much as I am on what do you have to say.
Awesome. Greg, that's so epic. I do sincerely hope that you enjoyed the podcast. Feel free to go and check Greg Chan's social media out. I'll leave a link in the description below. Consider subscribing to my channel. It really helps me out, and I'll see you guys in the next one.